Hello and welcome to the video. So for those of you who have watched the last video on this channel, you'll know that we've been having some car problems. Well, in today's video, I'm going to go in full detail about the breakdown and why breaking down in a foreign country is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Sorry, Loretta. I also want to say that I think this is probably going to be the hardest video I've made on this channel so far, and that's coming from someone who's done fart pants reviews, so if this helps at least one person, I know it will have been worth it. So if anyone's been watching this channel for a while, you'll know at the start of the year, Loretta and I decided that we wanted a bit of adventure, a bit of a change. So we did what any normal people do, quit our jobs, sold all our belongings and bought a van. We then spent a couple of months converting our 8-seater people carrier into a stealth micro camper with a sink, pull-out bed, storage and all powered by solar panel on the roof. With enough savings to last us to at least the end of the year, we were ready for a European adventure of a lifetime. We headed into Europe and it was incredible. The scenery, the weather, we had never experienced anything like it. Every day was a heat wave, which was great as we relied on our solar panel to power our van. But what's that? The solar panel pretty much decided not to work as soon as we left the UK. This was fine as we also had a portable battery that we could charge while we were driving the car as well as in coffee shops. However, due to the extreme heat wave, our portable battery also started having problems and would sporadically completely drain itself as well. I remember thinking, why me? Why is this all happening? Why is everything so difficult? Everything that could go wrong has possibly gone wrong, or so I thought. The following week we headed off to a new destination, and at the start of the journey it was kind of light rain, wasn't too bad, but halfway through the rain got so relentless that we had to pull in because I could barely see when I was driving and park in a Burger King. We sat in Burger King for a little while waiting for the weather to chill out, and when we went back to the car it wouldn't start. It was about 10 PM on a Friday night, so we did what any normal people would do. We slept in the car park hoping that everything would be alright in the morning. Woke up the next morning and the car seemed to start fine, so off we went. So we drove to our next place relieved that something finally went right for us, and we're actually only a few hours away from visiting our friend, so we decided there and then that it'd probably be a good idea to book it into a garage when we got there, just to have the car checked out. But the universe had other plans for us. So a few days later, when we decided to move on, the car wouldn't start, and this time we did have to call the breakdown service. Calling the breakdown service in a foreign country is definitely not ideal. One, because they speak a completely different language, and two, we sleep in the vehicle. That's our home. By the time they picked up the car and towed it to a garage, it was pretty late, which meant we had to spend the night in a hotel. So we decided to work out the worst case scenario so we'd be prepared for anything that happened to us. Scenario number one, it was a bigger problem to fix than we thought. Some Google research had kind of told us that the problem may be some spark plugs or an air filter, which was really quick, cheap fix. However, it could possibly be something a lot more expensive than that. Scenario number two, they're not able to fix the problem and the van's considered a write-off. Now, according to the breakdown cover, they can then possibly send your vehicle home, depending on how much it costs. Ours only cost $17.50, so we're not sure if this option would be viable or not. But if this was the case, we would then continue traveling Europe with just our backpack on public transport. Once again, not ideal, but definitely a viable option. However, the scenario we got delivered wasn't something we even thought was possible. It was scenario number three. So they ended up keeping our car in for 2 nights, which isn't a great sign, but on day 3 they called us up to tell us that the car was fixed and ready for collection. So we went to collect the car and the cost was €2,000, which kind of took our breath away. This may not seem like a lot of money for other people watching this, but we only spent $17.50 on the car itself, so we basically paid more to have the car fixed than we did to buy it. So we thought, okay, that's definitely at least double the worst case scenario money we thought it would be, but the car's working, that's all that matters. So we started the car up in the garage and it sounded kind of funky, like just having it revved in the garage, the revs would go up and down, just idling. And also Loretta noticed that there was some black smoke coming out of the exhaust. Now the guys in the garage, this was a Nissan garage and our car is a Nissan Largo, told us that because of the new parts, the car had to break them in, that they'll also put some fuel cleaner in the car, and that's kind of why the black smoke was billowing out. So wanting to be optimistic, I took them for their word and we drove off into the sunset and everything was completely fine. Yeah. Now, as I said previously before, we got scenario number 3. So scenario number 3, paying a ludicrous amount of money to get the car fixed and not actually having the car fixed. Yeah, didn't know that was an option. However, as we drove off, we soon realized that there was something drastically wrong with the car. We noticed this when we were on the highway, that once we tried to flick the LPG on, the car started violently shaking, so we switched that off. And then once we got off the highway, whenever we tried to drive at a lower speed, the car would just shut itself off, which made driving through the city pretty scary, to be honest. This reminded me of a film called Speed. I don't know if anyone is old enough to have seen this, with Keanu Reeves, where he drives a bus and he has to keep it above like 50 miles an hour or it blows up. It's pretty similar to that, but we had to keep our car above 10 miles an hour or it would conk out. So through the skin of our teeth, we pretty much made it to the next destination car park, pulled up, not really knowing what to do. So I called the garage back up to explain that the car wasn't fixed, the LPG wasn't working and it kept conking out. They then decided to say that the LPG never worked for them either, and they only drove the car for about 5 to 10 minutes and it seemed to be fine. Looking back, this had been somewhat of an emotional roller coaster of a day for me. I mean, waking up excited to go and collect our car, to being in shock of how much it was to have it fixed, to then happy again to be driving off, quickly followed by fear and anxiety as we're having problems with the car, and then anger and resentment after I spoke to the garage people on the phone. So once again, we went and did what any normal person would do and found shelter in a local pub and had a beer. I remember being sat in the pub and just cycling through emotions. I'd be really sad one minute, and then I'd get angry, and then I'd almost forget everything had happened and be enjoying myself for a few minutes. And it was just kind of this perpetual cycle. For a few hours we were sat there. So after a little while we decided to head back to the van. We didn't really know what else to do with ourselves, and that's when I broke down. Now this may surprise you, but I'm not a big crier. I'm definitely not like Loretta, who wells up whenever there's a kitten on the TV, but at this moment in time I literally felt like I had no other option. I had nothing left to give. I'd given up. So Loretta was consoling me, and then she said something that literally has changed my life and something I want to share with you guys too. She said, "You're choosing to feel like this." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You're stuck on a negative thought, but you can choose to feel something else. You don't have to feel this emotion." These words literally struck me so powerfully, like an arrow to the chest. She is completely right. I was choosing to feel sorry for myself. I was choosing to feel angry. I was choosing to feel sad. These were unconscious emotional states I didn't even realize I was holding on to until she said these words to me. It's like I previously thought, I am my emotions, I'm feeling these things. But by hearing you get to choose, it's like looking up at a cloudy sky and deciding that, no, I don't want clouds, I want a clear blue sky. I instantly had no thoughts, no worries, no concerns. Everything was going to be okay. Everything is okay. So when it comes to feeling emotions, I believed there was only 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, you feel that emotion. You feel angry. You are angry. Get it out of you. Be angry. Scenario 2, you push it down. I feel angry. Put a smile on. It disappears. And these are the 2 I'd be cycling between. But once again, there's an option 3 that I didn't know about. You can just feel that emotion briefly, feel it, acknowledge it. That's your body's way of dealing with trauma or a certain situation. Then once you've felt it, let it go. I don't know if I'm the only person in the world who doesn't know this, or it's just become completely clear to me, but I didn't know of that third option. Another way Loretta helped me that evening as well, she told me to close my eyes and then think of a time or something that makes you feel happy. You can literally feel the energy inside your body changing. That night we actually ended up then going to the cinema and walking around the place we were at, and literally had one of the best evenings we've had on the whole entire trip so far. And it's would be considered to look back on one of the worst days ever, but I look back on it on one of the best days ever. And I know from the outside, even telling this story, it might sound a little pathetic, like, so what, you went traveling, a few things went wrong, and now you have to go home. But that isn't the reason I'm telling you this story. I'm telling you this story to say that I would pay 2,000 euros happily again to have the same experience. This experience taught me that I am in control, and even though I'm not in control of what is happening around me, I am in control of what is happening within me. And just because I feel an emotion does not mean I am that emotion. It's just something I am experiencing, and it is so powerful. Next few days and the last week, we've had such a good time. I feel like I've got a new appreciation for life and a surge of energy. I finally understand the purpose of meditation and calming the mind, and how my mind has literally been controlling me and I have not been in control of it. Did you know that every day we have about 60,000 thoughts, and about 90% of those thoughts are the same every single day? This means that if you find that a lot of the time you're anxious, stressed, or negative, that you're none of those things. You're just having anxious, stressed, or negative thoughts that you probably don't even realize that you're having in the first place. Now here's the best part. You have the power to stop listening to these thoughts. So our mind works like it's run by someone who gets commissioned to keep us preoccupied and away from the present moment. They usually do this by distracting us with fear, anxiety, and stress of upcoming scenarios that most likely won't even happen. However, it can also be disguised as romanticizing about the future, or thinking about the past, or even feel like you're being productive by planning upcoming events or schedules in your head. However, all it's really doing is keeping you distracted from the present moment, which in reality, all there really is. Here's another fun statistic. Did you know that 85% of the things you worry about never actually even happen? The van breaking down also made me realise that I hadn't even fully been appreciating the travels so far. I'd been so focused on what was going wrong that I didn't take appreciation or gratitude for all the things that were going right. So just because something doesn't look like it's going your way, that doesn't mean that's not the way it's supposed to be. Anyway, that's my story, and I know it's very different to my usual content, but what happened I felt was so powerful and has pretty much changed the way I think and feel about things. I thought I needed to share it on here. Even if my rambling only makes sense to one person, I know that one person will appreciate it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.